So D&D and other tabletop role-playing games are meant to be like this small, and I hate to use this word, but there's like really no other way to describe it. It is like a small, almost intimate experience between a group of individuals. Even in the biggest games, you don't really see like more than 6 players and 1 GM. There are a few exceptions out there, and some people can manage it, but it is very, very difficult. And what's even worse is when you have a hard time keeping everyone interested at once. This is especially true if you want to run any sort of like adventure with like individual moments of awesome, or if you want to give each person their time to shine. My personal sweet spot is between 4 and 5 players. My favorite is 4 players to a table. I can handle 5 okay. 6, I am admittedly not a fan of 6 players at once. Generally it gets kind of messy, and you almost have to split the group down a little bit if you want to give everyone moments to shine and moments to be awesome. And it just doesn't work out as well, and people tend to get bored in the middle of campaigns when they're not being in like the center of attention. I've got a couple stories here of times when I had 12 players at a table. One of them really good, one of them really bad, and the other one ruined 2 years of hard work. The first story I have is the first time I had 12 players at a table. And at this particular time, I was still in high school, and I got a phone call from my buddy, and he said, "Hey, Stuart, I want to play, I don't know why I'm doing this voice. I'm going to commit, whatever. Hey, Stuart, we're going to play D&D, and we need a DM. Do you wanna come and DM for us?" "Why, sure, friendo. I would be happy to DM a game. I haven't played in a long time." "Okay, that's good. We got a few people here. Come on over." "Oh, really? How many people do you have?" 12. What? So I go over to my friend's house, and there are 12 people there. And I want to express real quick, this was not like an ideal 12 people either. Only 3 of these people had ever played before. Everyone else was a brand new player, and half of them hated each other personally. So what happened was the 3 experienced players helped the other 9 of them make a character real quick, and they gave me like 10 minutes to make an adventure. I had one kind of prepared, and it had a lot of cool ideas. Basically, they had to go invade this bridge, and they had to like steal this like sort of steampunk prototype tank, and they had to drive it away. Immediately, I should have seen the warning signs, but I didn't. I hadn't played D&D in a couple months, and I really wanted to play, and I thought, we're all friends, right? But as soon as it started, like, things went downhill real fast. 3 experienced players immediately started killing the guards around. I don't know why. They were just like higher level than anyone else. They brought in like their level 5 characters, and everyone else was like level 1, and they're like, "Oh, we'll escort you through the mission." No, it was just a giant waste of time. Like they killed like the quest giver's guards right away, and they still expected a reward. And it was dumb, and I just ugh. So eventually, after I herded all these cats together and pushed them out onto the bridge, like immediately things go wrong. Like, they got into combat, and I did not I also didn't realize how long combat is going to take with 12 people at a table. 9 of them had never rolled a 20-sided dice before. One round took 30 minutes, and I did not make it to round 3. By round 2, I just said, "Oh yeah, you killed all the guards." Within this time, though, like, one of the players accidentally fumbled, and he rolled on the fumble chart, and he accidentally threw his sword in the river, and another character jumped down to get it. It was odd, man. Like, it was already bad. And we knew by the end of this combat that it wasn't going to get any better. And at that point, like, 6 of the players just bailed on the mission, and they just said the new guys can play. But like, none of the other guys were interested anymore after this. And interestingly enough, the guy who dropped his sword in the river, he swore that if he ever DM'd a campaign that I was in, he was going to kill my character. I guess he was so offended that he lost his sword that he forever grew a vendetta against me. I don't know what happened there, but that was just a terrible experience. And there's no real big punchline. It just freaking sucked, man. The second time that I had a table of 12 people was shockingly good. Now, this time around, we had like 9 newbies again and 3 veteran players, but these 3 veteran players were also in the disaster one. And in that disaster one, they learned from the previous mistakes, just like I did. They called me up again and they said, "Hey, Stuart, we want another dungeon and we have a bunch of newbies." And I warned them. I was like, "This is not going to be a repeat of last time." And they all agreed, no, we're gonna be real careful, real smooth. We learned. And they did. It was shockingly good. I made this little dungeon. It was just real cute. It wasn't anything fancy, but I had them all start the campaign as friends. I said they all belonged to the same mercenary group, and they were tasked to delve into this dungeon and beat the boss and take the treasure. Pretty simple. And everyone agreed to that, and they all their characters got along. So not everyone at the table liked each other, it worked out. Unfortunately, however, I recycled one of my favorite traps that I ever had. This was what I called the delayed fireball trap. And now, I should have known better than to put something this deadly against a bunch of new players. But we all had a good laugh about it, so I guess it's okay. A lot of experienced DMs would hate this trap, and they would tell me, like, it's garbage and I shouldn't do it. But I don't care. I like this trap anyway. So the delayed fireball trap goes as such. Essentially speaking, you need to, like, telegraph this trap really well. Otherwise, it's blatantly unfair. The way I have this trap work is near the beginning of the dungeon, I have the players all walk into a room, and this room is filled with gold coins. And like right away, that should set them on edge because they should have some kind of game design logic in their head. And it's also really weird that if an enemy has a great big dungeon, they put all their treasure at the beginning. So the way this works is each of these coins is actually a delayed fireball spell. And if they inspect the coins, it's pretty obvious right away. Like the coin doesn't have any kind of denomination on it. It's just like a gold piece with a fireball on it. And that should tip them off enough to leave what's in there alone. But essentially, the way it works is after they pick up a coin, I roll a 1d6. And that's how many minutes go by before each of the coins self-destructs as a 1d6 fireball. Now, 1d6 is nothing, but if you put a couple hundred of those in a room, or a couple thousand even, then it adds up real freaking quick. Now, once again, most DMs would really, really disagree with this, but this was also 2nd edition, and 2nd edition had really dumb traps anyway, so it kind of fit the theme, and we were kind of just doing this anyway. So anyway, this new inexperienced party, they find the trap room. Like one of my veteran players who've seen this trap before, while not trying to put in player knowledge, kind of knew what was up. He was like, "Oh, hold on, you should inspect those coins first." And one of the new players picked up a coin, and he goes, "Oh, okay, we should inspect it. That's a good idea." He bites it. And I blew it up, and it destroyed, like, all of them. They all died. And, like, I didn't do this right away. I did it, like, a couple rooms in, so they all got their D&D experience. Like, they did a couple puzzles, they fought some monsters, and shockingly, they weren't mad at me. They should have been mad at me, but they weren't. They had a good time, and they thought it was kind of funny how they all died. So, all in all, the second time I DM'd 12 players, it was actually a pretty pleasant experience. I know, it's weird, right? The third time I DM'd a bunch of players is actually documented on this channel. Now, it wasn't 12 players, it was actually 10. This was my Pokemon Tabletop campaign, and this was near the end of that story. By the way, spoilers for it. If you don't want spoilers for my Pokemon Tabletop Utopus region, skip over here. But essentially speaking, we had 10 players in a chat, most of them who had never played together with each other. 3 of them were supposed to be playing the villains, 3 of them were supposed to be playing a neutral party, and 4 of them were supposed to be the heroes. We were kind of playing this up as like our big Infinity War. In fact, we called that arc the Infinity War arc. And it just didn't end well. The villains didn't know what they were doing, the neutral party didn't really know what was happening either, and the heroes were just kind of all caught up doing another thing. It was messy, but we eventually RP'd through it pretty okay. And I wanted to cap off the session by bringing back the main villain, Sarah B, back into the campaign, and I wanted her to fight everyone and for them to be like this big old boss fight where everyone teams up and beats her. And that didn't happen because one of the players, not knowing what the MacGuffin was, grabbed it, broke the MacGuffin, released a god inside, and it killed her. This campaign was going on for 2 years. I spent 2 weeks writing this session and building up this final boss, and she just dies in like 2 dice rolls. And now this isn't really the fault of the players. They were all acting in character for the most part. And it's really not anybody's fault, but that was not my favorite big group D&D experience. All in all, I do not suggest that people have more than 5 or 6 players at a table. It does get messy really quickly. Personally, like I said before, my favorite sweet spot is between 4 and 5. That's when you can get the most. If you have anything less, it's actually kind of, I feel always weird. If I only have 3 players, it's actually kind of awkward for me. 4 players is my favorite though. But what about you guys? Did you ever have like any sort of experience like this with a really, really big group where it's just awkward and dumb? If you have, let me know. I'd love to read it in the comments down below. And with that, I'll bid you adieu for next time. Be sure to roll a crit on that subscribe button. You need to put your attack of opportunity on that bell. You need to throw a fireball at that like button and share this video with a wish. That's D&D enough, right? See you next time. Bye.